It's King Cuz on the track.
Welcome back to the Festo channel. Got King Cuz here. Have my 2007.5 GMC Sierra 2500 HD LMM Duramax. I'm going to be doing my yearly routine maintenance to the vehicle. We're going to be greasing the front end suspension, cleaning the mass airflow sensor, changing the Allison transmission external filter, factory fuel filter, tool to pull off the sensor off the bottom, air filter, and rotating the tires and reprogramming the TPMS sensor. So let's get going on this. Alright, so now that we got the lug nuts off, we're going to take the rears off. And the rears are going to go straight up. And the fronts are going to come off and crisscross to the rear. So that's the way that you rotate the tires.
Once you got the rim on, stick your lug nuts back on.
Okay, now that the tires are rotated, we're going to torque the tires down. On a 2500 HD, torque specs are 140 foot-pounds. The way you want to do this is you want to cross pattern the tightening so that pulls the rim onto the hub evenly. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Now that we've got the rotation of the tires done, we're going to reprogram the TPMS sensors in the tires for the monitor inside the vehicle. Check the link in the description to see how you can do that. Next, we're going to do the external transmission filter here on the Allison 1000. When you do these external transmission filters, we have the magnetic ring that catches any kind of clutch material from the transmission. So what we want to do is we want to inspect this and clean it real good and put it back on. So if something was wrong, you would see a larger bits of metal than what you would see here as far as this dark stuff here, which is just regular clutch material. This is normal. I'm going to give it a little bit of a cleaning here with some brake cleaner. Get all nice and clean. So we're also going to check here, make sure that the gasket from the transmission filter is off. Wipe this surface down so we get a good clean mating surface for the new filter. I'm going to go ahead and put that magnet back up in there, just like so. So we got our new PPE transmission filter. And go back on. Take a little bit of the transmission fluid here. Wipe it on our gasket here. Nice and hand tight. So we're going to do our lube points. Got one here, one here, 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 on the tie rods, lower ball joints. These are the ones where you're going to need to turn the tire to clear the caliper out of the way so you can get your grease gun in there to lock onto the nipple. Couple pumps. See it move and go up, so that's good. Alright, now we got the grease gun on this idler arm. This one's a little tricky. You get a stick and bend it up and over and down onto it. Got it locked on. Alright. See some of the grease coming out of it right over here, so we're good. Alright, so here's the other one. We're using this Moog piece here. Since this one is very hard to get to, if not, you really can't get the one with a gun. This piece we have another video on. Description will be on the bottom and a link. This brings our fitting out over here to the side. So super easy to do. Grease gun goes on. Give it 2 pumps. We've got 2 on the upper control arm. Right here on the ball joint. Got all the lubrication points on the front end of the Duramax done. You can check that off our list. All right, so we've taken out 7mm and some pop panel pieces here to pull down the inner liner fender to expose the factory filter location. Water sensor on the bottom, I'm going to disconnect that. Now that we got that disconnected, I'm going to go ahead and unloosen the filter. Carefully take that out. This has got diesel fuel in the top, of course. We're going to take our nifty tool here to take off the water sensor on the bottom. So we got our new filter. This one just happens to be blue. We got our 2 gaskets, a little fuel on our gasket here. Alright, we got that on. This gasket goes on top of the filter. Just going to take a look up in here at the fuel filter housing. Make sure that we don't have any of the other gaskets on from the other fuel filter before we put this on, so you don't double gasket. But putting this one on is a little tricky. You want to be very careful that you don't push up against the fuel return lines. I've made a mistake one time before, pushing too hard or pushing up too hard on the fuel filter and snap one of those, and that's not a good day. I'm as tight as I can get it with my hands. Now we got the fuel filter tight. I'm gonna go ahead and hook the water sensor back up. If you don't have a lift pump, you need to crack that bleeder screw, pump the pump, bleed the air out of the factory fuel filter housing. Got 13mm on a swivel. Goes down on the top of the bleeder screw. It's on top of the fuel filter housing. So we went ahead, cracked that loose. I'm going to take this bulb, we're going to pump it. As you can see that fuel squirting out of there, that's what we want to see. We want to see fuel, no air. So now that we see fuel, we should be able to go ahead and tighten this thing down. Alright, now we've checked for any kind of leaks. Everything looks dry. We can go ahead and put the fender liner on. Now we're getting ready to put the fender liner back in. Make sure you take this harness, this little nipple here, and it goes into the fender liner. Over here, it plugs back in. To change the factory air filter, I'm going to take this screw out here, take the plug off the mass airflow sensor, give it a good cleaning. I mean, it's something smart to do, and a lot of people overlook it. Making sure that this thing is clean, doesn't have any debris on it, so it doesn't send any other information to the ECM. Now that we got this mass airflow sensor out, I'm going to clean it with this CRC mass airflow sensor cleaner. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but as this stuff starts to dissipate, it's supposed to dry where there's no residue on this sensor at all, and it's nice and clean. So now it's ready to be reinstalled.
You can see a little sunlight through there, but not much. That's how you can tell how dirty your filter is, by looking up at the sun through it. I'll show you a comparison with a new filter. This is what the new one looks like. You can see how the spot from the sun's a lot bigger. It can be seen further away.
This OEM filter, you can see that we have an arrow pointing for air to be brought in this way. So it needs to go in this way. So we're going to put that down here. And this is the gasket that goes on the housing. That's going to seal inside the air box. It's heard it snap, so it is locked into place. Go ahead and get our lid back on. Ready to go back in the truck. These tubes here, we want to make sure they go down through the hole down here where the air box goes. All right, I can see that they're down in there good. And there is a tab on this air box that snaps into a little ear. And it's snapped in there. I'm going to make sure that this gasket here is up against the fender so it draws cold air from the fender. So got all the servicing done on the truck. This is King Cuz on the Festo channel. We're out.